beginning of the year. That's gonna be a great positive meeting for our community. We have a roll call, please.
Beverly Cole.
Here.
Steve Pettigrew.
Here.
Brandon Wright.
Here.
Kevin Houghton. Jenny Doyle.
Here.
And Ashland here.
Thank you. Is your mic on? It's probably on, you might just need to pull it up a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead right now, it's appropriate time. As most of you know, Jennifer, who's been here for 24 years, retired. And we're very fortunate to, Anita Hendren, most of you have met. If you haven't, you need to meet her. Super young lady. We're very fortunate she is a certified clerk. So she's moving over to Jennifer's position. We definitely want to welcome Bonita, and we'll hear more about her here in a minute. Okay. The financials, please.
For restaurant tax, we have $38,618.87. Is that bad? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And for transit room tax, we have $16,701.08. Transfer to tourism commission, $55,319.95. Cash analysis for December investments, $29,212. I wasn't sure about that number, so I left it the same. The others I corrected. Fire department checking, $75,187. Fire department savings, $1,253. Police department savings, $6,961.
Okay, thank you. And yes, I'm off to a good start. Already skipped over the approval of the minutes. So if you have had time to look at those, and I would entertain a motion to approve those.
Make a motion, we approve them.
I have a motion. Second.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay. First on our agenda, under unfinished business, if you recall, we discussed and I proposed a job position that we install, that being a grant writer / economic development. I've done some research. Basically, I talked and worked with KLC on the information that they put out on all cities and so forth. Of course, they had them separated between community development, separate, and grant writer. In our size city, and this is sort of a maximum for a community development director, was $65,000. For a grant writer was about $36,000. So a combined position, working both of those, we're probably looking at around 55 in that neighborhood. And if you recall, the tourism, this will be a split job, which it all is helped to promote Grand Green City tourism. We'll be paying part of that salary. And we will be splitting, and those details, of course, will have to be worked out. They have committed at least $25,000 toward that position at this point. So, just wanted to refresh and bring that back to the table to get your input.
Will that be advertised, or you've already got somebody in mind that you want to put in that position?
No, I do not have
How would that
anyone.
work?
I do not have anybody in mind at this
Will
point.
it be advertised what?
Yes, we will get it out there. We'll, you know, look for the very best possibility disabilities and that type of thing. And when I saw those figures, community development directors, they make pretty good money. Grant writers, there's pretty big gap there. But this is also, they have it broken down, KLC does, with the population and city size as well. So that's up to like, 3,000 population, that's where these figures came from.
Will there be a committee to look at the resumes submitted?
I
Make sure
think,
we got the best candidate.
and along those lines, I hope you got your committee. I think definitely we would, have the, economic, what's the title? Community Development Committee, involved in that, and go from there with it.
I think we should explore, the cost of the contract services for grant writers that are widely available, and see how that compares to hiring someone ourselves.
We're gonna have to carry insurance and all the good stuff on it.
All that's yet to be determined, and I'm sure there'll be some, and that was even discussed with the tourism folks. This would be an employee of the city. Therefore, we would be providing the incentive, or the benefit package, but the tourism is well aware of that and would do extra to help cover that expense.
Would we be better to do a contract and see how that works versus, making a new employee of the city?
Talking about like what, Brandon just.
Yeah, like
maybe-
services contract. A lot of times we do the contract to see whether or not it's really a position we want to hire. So I just wondered if that's a possibility.
Sure, I mean, it's wide open, anything, that's why, your input's very important.
And try to make sure it's something that it benefits us versus taking on an employee. Cause if you really want the job and you really wanna become a city employee, then you're gonna make sure you get us some grants.
Yeah,
You're gonna really work hard at that.
it's been mentioned that, and at some point, we can always say, well, this is not working, it's not working out, it's not a benefit to our city and our community,
Of course we can, but
Now,
then we should
another
create a
thing, and Bobby, I
position.
meant to ask you this, but it's okay. I was thinking maybe a salary with a small, commission incentive, but I've also kinda understand that cannot be done with a city employee, is that
I
correct?
don't believe it can, that's
Okay,
fine.
and that's fine, I just wanted a clarification.
Can we hire somebody on a contract and pay them a commission of what they give us?
Well, I think if we go the contract route, I think that, because it would not be a city employee at that point,
We can,
that would be a possibility.
and set it up, they get a commission for what they do.
Now,
Sales commission.
and this may be totally off the wall, it's some of my thinking on this. If you get contractors, they're working with people all over the country and other people. And you're not gonna get that per Cave City, dedication, because they're gonna make money wherever they make it. And I may be thinking totally off the wall,
It
but that,
depends on how the contract is written.
yeah.
It depends on what you, stipulate in that contract.
I think we're talking about two different things. I think you guys are talking
I'm talking
about
about a
hiring,
contract, you're talking about something else.
hiring a contractor, and I'm talking about contracting a service,
Right.
which is what the mayor was just talking about.
Can you pay them with commission?
I don't know, I'm sure that exists probably.
So you don't have.
Well, I've just
Incentive,
found
yeah.
out, and Bobby confirmed for us, thank you, sir, that as a city employee, we cannot do a commission on top
Right.
of that.
Right.
Now, through these services or whatever, we just have to check in.
Yeah, we need to look into it, see what's offered. I like the idea of that, it's an incentive to work harder, but I don't know what they offer. if you contract with an individual, the contract can be pretty much whatever you two agree to, really.
Right,
Right.
what you stipulate.
Mayor, I'd like
Yes.
to make a suggestion. Let the two committees that's over those two things hold a meeting and put together a package of what they think.
Well,
would
yeah,
be-
and
would
that's a
be the
good
best
idea,
deal.
basically, it would be the one.
And then that gives you something to look at of what they think would be the best deal to offer.
And that's a good idea.
I mean, Beverly's got federal experience and others have got
Oh.
experience on state level.
I think basically it would just be under the one, well, community development and budget finance, we need to look at it and do all that. So it sounds like what I'm hearing, we still need more, information, more options. And I will say, Beverly does a very good job. I know the one committee in the past few years, she has set meetings and they meet and do things. So how about, just a suggestion that we, as soon as possible, Mike would set up a meeting with the, community development and sit in and look at those possibilities. Is that what I'm, the gist that I'm, and tell me if that's not what I'm sort of hearing?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
Ashland, you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, so we need no action or anything on that, Beverly, you can just check and see, I know you had in the past your regular meeting set, but as soon as possible, maybe on this, whatever would work, okay? Okay, next thing on the item, new business, Barron County Planning and Zoning, Kevin, you want to sort of give us a little insight on that? We will need to pass that, you have a copy of the, ordinance. And Kevin, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, I didn't know if you had planned to speak on this or not, but
That's okay.
just a little update.
No problem. For those of you that are new, my name is Kevin Mott. I'm the Planning and Zoning Director for Barron County, Glasgow, Cave City, and Park City. We're a joint city-county planning commission. This that you have before you in your packet tonight is a meeting that we held on October the 17th. You can see that Tony Hogan was the applicant and the owner of the property there. We hold our meetings on the third Monday of every month, and then the next month we approve our minutes, and then those minutes are forwarded to you as a recommendation to either approve or deny. That's typically how this works. This falling in between the election cycle and those coming off and those coming on, the planning commission felt it might be more prudent to send this to the new council. That way that you guys have an understanding of what's come before you here. I will make this statement here though. There are certain KRS statutes that we, as the planning commission, must follow with regards to notifications and that of adjacent property owners, the public, and anyone else, which we always follow. If anyone's aggrieved by the decision of the planning commission, and I think Bobby can help back me up here, but they have 30 days basically to appeal that to circuit court in the judicial process, if they're aggrieved in whether or not the planning commission approved or denied such an applicant. And in this case right here, there's a few KRS statutes that a zone change or a map amendment must meet before it's sent on to the next legislative body. So the planning commission, we are your legislative arm. We hold those public hearings for you. The public is always invited to those meetings. You are invited to those meetings. I just throw out a word of caution, just if you do speak on it, you always have to remember that you also are the next body that either approves or denies that. So I would hate for you to have to recuse yourself from something you might have said in those meetings, but those meetings are open to you, and you can decide whether or not you want to speak or not at those meetings. But they're open to the public and anybody that wants to come forward. But Mr. Hogan here, the applicant, applied for a zone change from an R1 classification, which is a low-density residential classification, and we know the farm that's located out there on Old Horse Cave Road. He applied for a B2 general business application, and based on what he has said, and because we held a public hearing, it is testimony under oath, not allowed to give any more testimony because due process would not be given to anybody that didn't show up tonight because they were notified by mail. So the only thing I can really reiterate is those things that's in the minutes here. but it's my understanding that the applicant wanted to have the opportunity to sell or position that property in a way that, he could have it open to many more buyers, those people that might be looking to do a dual type zoning, development, whatever it might be in that area. And it may not go for any kind of development at the present moment. But he wanted to position it in a way that that property would have the ability to be sold or developed by him, in a manner that would allow for commercial development and or residential development. The zoning classification in Cave City here, when you hit a B2 zoning, it allows for you to have commercial development, and it also allows you to have residential development in there. And the reason why it allows for residential development is most of that infrastructure, sewer, water, and electric, as well as roadway, those are built a little bit bigger than you would typically see in a residential development. So, the public safety and health and welfare is the first thing that the planning commission has to look at. So, with that being said, the planning commission saw that this met the KRS statute, that is in compliance with our future comprehensive plans, future projection map. It's also, does not present a conflict of interest or anything of that nature as well. And they saw fit to recommend to you all that it be rezoned from R1 to B2. That's a really quick version of that meeting. But if you have any questions, I know the full packet's in front of you, along with all the attachments there, the maps, the minutes of those that were present and weren't present. So you have all of that info in front of you, but feel free to ask me a question, or at the next time, if you have a question, feel free to give me a call, and I can answer it at that time and answer it at the meeting if you would like me to do that as well. So, any questions on this zone change?
Nobody spoke against it in that meeting, correct?
No, they did not. Nobody spoke in favor, nobody spoke in opposition.
Are we okay that, this part of this property is actually in Hart County?
Well, that portion falls in Hart County. There's no zoning or land use classifications in Hart County, so I have no control over that part of it as far as development or subdivision development or anything like that. So we're only detailing the parcel that's in Barron County.
Could it be used for a factory?
Not under the current classification.
Not under B2.
Anybody that, whether it be the applicant, Mr. Hogan, or if somebody else purchased it, they'd have to do another rezoning of that property. I don't know that property, there'd have to be some concessions made, roadway would have to be widened, some public safety access points would have to be put in, so it's not just run of the mill to rezone it to whatever you want. There's gotta be some stipulations that's met before the planning commission.
idea with the rail there would be
Certainly. But under the current classification, it's a commercial type, business, or a commercial type classification for the property.
Thank you so much, Kevin. With that said, and with the information, we do have an ordinance you have in your packet. Bobby, would you, present that, please, sir?
Well, an ordinance amending Cave City zoning ordinance for rezoning the property located approximately 1,464 feet northeast of the Old Horse Cave and North Dixie Highway, US 31W intersection, and adjacent to the West Les Turner Road and Old Horse Cave Road intersection, 39.24 acres more or less, from R1 to B2 classification. Tony Hogan, the applicant, has requested a zoning change for this property. He's the owner of the property, and the schematic drawings for the property to be rezoned or attached as Exhibit A. A trial-type due process public hearing concerning the recommended map amendment was held by the Joint City County Planning and Zoning Commission of Barron County on October 17th, and the unanimous recommendation by the commission that the described property be rezoned R1 to B2. Copies of the findings and recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission have been forwarded to the council, which are adopted by the council and are attached to this ordinance as Exhibit B. By resolution, the City Council has heretofore approved the recommendation of the Joint City Planning Zoning Commission. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Cave City that the property located approximately 1,464 feet northeast of the Old Horse Cave Road and North Dixie Highway, US 31W intersection and adjacent to the west Les Turner Road and Old Horse Cave Road intersection, 39.24 acres, be zoned from R1 to B2 classification. This ordinance will take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
Okay, thank you, sir. I would entertain a motion to, approve this ordinance.
I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Beverly Ford,
Yes.
Steve Pettigrew,
Yes.
Brandon Wright,
Yes.
Ashley Hudson. Yes. Kenny Doyle,
Yes.
Kevin Hatcher.
Okay, thank you. This is the first reading. We will have to have a second reading at a February meeting. Thank you. And once again, thank you so much, Kevin. Okay, the next item, we have a guest with us. We have the president of the Kiwanis Club of Caverna that has a exciting presentation, whatever. Welcome, Chris.
Hopefully it's exciting anyway. My name is Chris Summers. I'm the current president of the Kiwanis Club of Caverna. To give you a little backstory as to how we got here. Last year, I think it was last year, I can't remember, maybe the year before, the Chamber of Commerce sponsored an event and several of us went to a Bowling Green Hot Rods game. I was able to take my grandchildren. During that time, walking around, they got a little bored with the baseball game. We went walking around, and in the left field beyond the fence, there is a splash pad. They were happy to spend the entire 2-hour time in that splash pad, as simple as it was, running in and out of the water. And for those of us who are old enough, we remember splashing around the water hose in the backyard. This is the modern day equivalent of that can be done on a larger scale. So the idea hit me. I know I mentioned to the mayor and I mentioned to several other people there, I said, Cave City needs this. This is just a simplistic little something we could do that's not a monstrous project. It is a big project, but not a monstrous project. So we started discussing it in our club, and we have decided to move forward with the city's approval, of course, to go about fundraising and try to build a splash pad in Cave City. What we need from the city's standpoint, we need two things. First of all, we need a place to put it, obviously. Our proposal would probably be Brian Doyle Park. After looking at different spots, and we're open to discussion of wherever that would be. The approximate square footage of what we're looking to do is about 1,900 square feet. So again, it's not a huge area we're not needing acres and acres of land to fill up, but this is good enough to have a simplistic splash pad. So the first thing we need to do is property. We need a place to put it that's a convenient location for use by the youth of Cave City. We know Boys and Girls Club is coming. Everybody knows that. This is a prime time, I believe, to get this project going, where these kids have something to do in the afternoon other than be locked in a building and try to figure out what you're going to do for that time with them. Gives another option. Gives an option for tourists. If you've ever been in a tourist community, you know that you see a lot of splash pads. The other thing we're asking the city for is maintenance. We're asking you to agree to take on the maintenance of this project moving forward and to pay for the water. This is going to use I don't know current water rate. That's some information I did not have. I don't know if Mr. Mayor, do you know that? Or does anybody in the council know the current water rate per gallon?
Per gallon, I don't know.
Just to give you, I want you to have real figures. That's why I want to ask that question. We're looking at a estimated usage of 495,000 gallons monthly of water. Water is not expensive, so don't let that number scare you to death, because you have to look up the actual water rate. Yeah. It's extremely low. So water is going to be the number one expense. Maintenance, you're probably going to be looking at 3 or 4 hours, man hours a month, maybe. Probably not even that much from what I'm reading and this company called Play Pros is going to be our partner as far as construction and engineering in this. So that's what we want to bring to you tonight. We want to have the opportunity, need your approval first. I'm already in discussions with some potential business sponsors who are very interested in coming on board with us. If we can get the project, get all the details of what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, and what we need commitment-wise from them. A third piece I will throw out, like I said, we need property, we need commitment to maintenance. If there's funding anywhere, anybody has any ideas of funding, we're looking at potential grants and different things as well. But if anybody has anything as an idea, if there's money in a budget somewhere that we may not know about, that you wanna use as seed money, we're always willing to that too. But the biggest things we need are commitment of being able to use part of the park property and being able to maintain the maintenance. Any questions from anybody? As far as
That water, does it have to be recycled?
It is recycled under the ground. That is all a part of the project. To give you a total cost of what the project's gonna run, from what the plan that we're looking at right now is approximately $79,000. So that's the amount we're shooting to fundraise, is between $75,000 to $80,000. You can do more, you can do a little less, you can't do a lot less, because there's a lot of installation costs that went out the roof in the last few years of these things. But that's what we're looking at raising.
Chris, are we looking at, as far as the size, as far as how many different like apparatuses? I mean, it's not gonna be.
It's gonna be a
huge.
very simplistic, probably, I'd say anywhere from 5 to 10 fountains in this area, and maybe one center structure. If anybody's been to the Hot Rods and seen their version, something along those lines. It's not a complex, we're not building a jungle gym in the middle of this water, because then you get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we're not looking to do something that advanced. We'd love to, sure, but we're trying to be realistic and start with something we know that we can reach the goal, and we can get the financing, and we can get it done.
You're saying it's gonna recycle underground?
It does.
Just discharged into the dirt, or is it gonna be reused?
Reused.
So would you say 495,000 gallons a month?
Mhm.
Is that the expected loss of water?
That I'm not 100% sure. That's something I would have to ask the Play Pros people to get a little more detail. I'm reading information from their proposals and what their estimated gallon usage is. That's on the average of running it 5 to 8 hours a day. You're not gonna run it, at night, obviously. There's no reason. There's gonna be a cutoff time, there's gonna be a start time.
Mayor, last time I looked at my water bill, the charge for water, and I don't remember the exact numbers either, but the charge for water was one number, and the charge for sewage was approximately double that.
Yeah,
per
the
gallon.
sewage is
Correct.
about double the water.
So are we gonna have to pay the sewage
Yeah.
as well on that 495,000?
No, if they're gonna recycle it, I don't
That-
know.
I'm just- yeah, that's-
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
would be my
hoping.
understanding. That's my
Now, it'd be on a
understanding.
separate meter. right?
Yeah, in that case out there, that's on a separate meter,
My
which is,
question is, y'all want me to check with the insurance company, check with KLC to see what our insurance would cost us
Yeah,
to insure that project?
which I think is a great project, so I'm sure y'all looked and considered, and y'all, that you feel like this would be the best location.
I feel like
know
it's-
we don't have a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I think in my mind's eye, I would love to see it by Reynolds Park, sure, but I don't think there's not enough space there to do it.
Yeah, with the Boys and Girls Club, that would fit in nicely, but I'm like you, I don't know that we have the space over here.
I don't think there's 1,900
Yeah.
square feet there.
Did we buy that little strip of land by the post office?
Well, you got it too, yeah.
That might be
Yeah,
it right
possibility
there.
too.
Why would you wanna put it right there? It'd just be a cluster.
Yeah.
Cause it's gonna be heavily used.
Yeah.
And, it
Another,
really doesn't
and-
give it enough.
It worried me about the traffic there, Steve.
Oh, yeah,
People in and out of the
absolutely.
post office. and
Kids
out.
running in and
Well, I
out.
mean, that's just.
They need to be
Uh,
somewhere where
and
they can be
also-
safe.
also
And
over
we
here,
need to do something.
directly
about
at,
it.
Yeah,
directly at this end of our, First Street Park, the railroad, of course, we have the fences, I don't think that this project would be a good thing. One that comes to mind, and this may not be good either, is we do own the strip of land, if I'm correct. Excuse me, behind the building up on Duke Street, between us and Replica. Is that a large enough space? And I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
I would have to
now,
look
you
at
don't,
it.
you're
I'm
talking
not
about
sure.
the firehouse?
Yeah.
You
We
don't have the 40 feet off a Replica before the firehouse property starts, cause when I sold that to Terrell, I cut 40 feet off a Replica.
Yeah, and it probably isn't big enough. I was just putting it out there as
Yeah.
property we own.
I would love to see it in a visible location. for tourism reasons as well, because, you know, you go to, like, for example, where we go to in Florida, you walk up along and there's this, you know, this splash pad there, and it's just constantly used.
I will go
And
ahead.
visible, but, you know, it's just for the community kids more than it is tourists.
Yeah.
In our
I will
opinion.
go ahead and mention, and maybe this will be a start to get us a lot more activities or built up out there. I know of one other project, I'm not at liberty to say just yet, that is being looked at and worked on, and, just like Chris has, they've done a lot of their homework, on another, recreation activity out in some of those areas, so what's the thought?
Yeah, any other questions anyone has, and if you need more answers, I'll be happy to get them. I've got a rep with Play Pros, it's been fantastic.
I would like clarification on the water usage. If that number that you gave is what's expected to be added, or if that's just what, like the initial amount.
Right.
I'm confused about that.
Right.
But you're gonna have evaporation, not,
Yeah, but
not no big.
495,000
Not
gallons
that
seems
much.
like a lot of evaporation.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah,
it'd be-
you're right, you're right on that.
I really think it all should fall right here with Parks and Rec, and that, he should sit down with Parks and Rec, with all the information on paper, and discuss the possibilities of what can be done, and, of course, I think for safety purposes for our young people, and even our tourists, that area would be the best spot for it, is the Grindor Ballpark.
Yeah.
We need to develop that, and I mean, it's been sitting for too long with us not doing anything with it, and it needs to be developed. I mean, that, for years, you go back 30, 40 years ago, that was the central
Don't tell
hub.
all us.
Everybody went there, tourists and everybody.
It hadn't been that long, Beverly, I'm not that old.
Was there.
I'm
So, you
the
know,
only Beverly
that's what-
and I realize what it.
We lived there.
Yeah.
We lived there. We had children. But,
I played a
that's what
Indian
I
ball
think.
game there.
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, once again, we probably need to, send this to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Yes.
So if that committee could also get, a meeting as soon as possible and sit down with Chris and,
And find out how much insurance is gonna
Yeah.
cost us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
we would,
Robert said he was gonna find that
Yeah,
out.
Well,
I'll-
we'll
I'll
find-
TLC find out.
we'll find that out. There was, it's been a couple years ago, maybe longer than that. Beverly, you remember there was some major issues even with KLC on some insurance and different things along pools and splash parks and that type of thing.
But I
So-
think they worked it out.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
At this last conference that I went to, somebody up there spoke to me, about splash pads. I talked to one of the vendors that was there.
Yeah.
So I think they've worked that part out, but.
But I'm excited that the Kiwanis Club, and if you're not familiar with Kiwanis, matter of fact, they'll be meeting tomorrow night. Anybody that, it's a great organization. Every penny they raise is spent totally on the kids, period. Some examples, a few years ago, they, what are we, 3, 4 years old now? We were able to, fund 1,000 computers for kids who didn't have them. It's just amazing what Kiwanis has been able to do for our kids in life. It's a great organization, would love to have you a part of it, the club.
Yeah, just, let me know any questions you have, and when you get a committee meeting together, I'd be happy to sit down and.
And I will
Get
get
some
you,
answers.
I have Chris's contact and, come up and, okay. Okay, thank you so much, Chris. It's a start, okay? Okay, next on it is, approval of appointment of emergency management director. I think you've got all this in your, they don't have?
No.
Okay.
It's yours.
Okay, sorry. And we do this every year, every election, when there's a change, there's usually new county employees in emergency management. Presented before us is the emergency management director is Garland Gillum. The assistant director is Anita May and Marcus Thurman. So I will put that before you to approve those. They're countywide. like all of these positions are. I would entertain a motion to approve those appointments that were made actually by the, county judge.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Thank you, motion passes. Okay, I mentioned we would hear more about Bonita. Okay, what we have to do is approve, first of all, approve, Bonita as our city clerk treasurer. And I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve her.
I second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Okay, with that, we also, and we have a resolution from one of our banks, we have to authorize her to sign checks. Bobby, I guess we need to do this separate since we have a resolution from one of our banking establishments.
They'll each want one,
Okay,
List them all in there, I think, don't
I don't know. This resolution resolved that the Cave City authorized the mayor and city clerk to have the authority to open, close, or remove authorized signatures on all accounts held at the People's Bank, authorized that the signers for the account be Mayor Hatcher, City Clerk Herndon, and Office Manager Smith, authorizes signers to have access to all offered bank services, authorize the signers to make investment decisions in regard to the commitment of funds through certificate of deposit investments or bank maintained checking accounts, and authorize the account administrator to be Clerk Herndon, and authorizes the account administrator to have online transfer with the People's Bank online banking, and authorized to use those services, and authorizes the requirement of 2 signatures of the approved signers for all checks issued for the city accounts.
thank you, Bobby. That's another reason, the last week's been pretty interesting with our requirement of 2 signatures and not having the name on there yet. Also, that also applies to the South Central Bank. I don't know if we knew this in one motion or not, is to add Bonita to these accounts and take Jennifer off of, South Central, stressed to me that was needed to be done and recorded in our minutes as well, that Jennifer was taken off, so we can do that in one motion.
Yes, I don't see
Yeah.
why.
So I would entertain a motion, if you understood my rambling, basically put Bonita on, take Jennifer off.
I'll make that motion on that one.
I'll second.
Have a motion second, any further discussion?
Yes, so a check can pass without 2 signatures, isn't that correct?
you? No, it takes 2 there.
Takes 2. That's why it's been interesting in the last week.
I have business checking, so they wouldn't let you off at what bank? Because we have business checking, and business checking, that check can go through with just that 1 signature. Because the bank is not gonna turn it away because it doesn't have 2, and that's my question.
Well, as it explained to me, that was a possibility as long as we did notes and through their electronic whatever. I'm not saying it definitely can't be,
Okay.
but it was a lot of red tape to
Oh, I
make that
know,
happen.
I set up
Yeah.
our business checking
Yeah.
it, and I know,
But
told me
basically,
a
we
check
just
can
say
go
we gotta have
through.
2.
yeah,
signatures.
we're saying that, but if somebody chose to write a check, it doesn't have to have 2 to go through. I just wanna make sure that.
But you gotta
that's
work with the
there.
bank and notify them and all of that beforehand.
No,
Well, that's where it was explained to me.
guarantee you don't have to.
But anyway, any further
I don't
discussion?
reckon we've ever tried it yet, but anyway.
Yeah,
It's-
right, and we
it's got-
hope nobody ever
it's
does.
got-
With the
It's
way
got-
they explained it,
got
it
2
worked,
lines
it
on
wouldn't
it
worth
for
trying
signing.
it,
Yeah,
just to be honest.
I always got 2 lines on it too,
Yeah.
but I know it'll go through with one signature.
Oh, okay, any other discussion? We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. One other approval we need, Mr. Jamie Burnett, I've appointed him to our code enforcement board. I think most of you, well, some of you may not know Jamie, he's retired from Farmers, is it?
He's retired from Farmers.
From
Ran for
Farmers,
council.
lives here in town, very active, really good man, and he's agreed to serve on our, code enforcement board. And I would entertain a motion to approve that appointment, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Who else
Motion.
is on the board?
David Faulkner and,
Jeff Lawson.
Jeff Lawson.
Okay.
Okay, our department reports, Chief Jent, you have anything other than what's in our packet or any?
Unless somebody has any questions about last.
Anybody got any questions for Chief Jent? Chief Butler, you have anything other than what's in?
We just got mass seated up front, we got our new, police car, which is our SRO for our school resource officer, that's the one we got on the grant. And it's just to be driven by the school resource officer, basically, or other officers can drive it, but it's actually be assigned to him. But that's what we use it for mainly. But when he's out, not doing the schools, he can use it for patrol work, because he's part of the person that has it.
Y'all recall that was a lease agreement, and we do have it out here, real nice looking car. And we do have our school superintendent here, just to let you know, he will be supporting a new car. It's strictly for the SRO. Robert, any of your, anything other than what's in the report?
I was gonna say, let's see, remember you on Parks and Rec, Ashland, and who else?
Who else?
Kevin, I think.
Kevin, I think.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Kevin's on part.
Yeah.
Kevin House.
Now that I'm
I gave you that list.
Same situated, you wanna try to get back on this project that we talked about here
Hopefully.
with the post office?
Yeah, been a long time, right? Okay.
You sent that one picture, but, I mean, maybe we get back on that.
Okay.
We was talking about building a gazebo for the elderly up by the post office on that lot.
Sort of making that an elderly park like
Mhm.
up in that area.
Senior park.
We've talked about
We
it.
want to be called seniors, senior park.
Before they did it.
I'm satisfied, hey, they just call me old people, I don't care.
Just senior park.
Okay. Anything else, Robert, in any of your areas?
No, you noticed I had it scheduled for the guys, the community building has gotten in pretty bad shape because we hadn't had anybody regular clean it, so Thursday's supposed to be a rain day. I've got public works scheduled to take Thursday and do an entire cleaning from top to bottom on the senior center.
Robert, on the economic report, says Bobby is doing title work on various properties. Do we have a listing of those properties?
I do, Beverly, and in my office, it's, several of the buildings downtown. I'm trying to figure out if, we found that one building, maybe in an estate, we're not sure how that's gonna work out. I'm waiting for, Alveda to get back with me about the greenhouse, whether the divorce got settled while I was off sick. See if she got it back. But, I got a list over to Bobby and he's been working on it.
Bobby, can you email that list so we take a look at it, please?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Thank you.
Okay, well, any council committee reports, and I know this is our first meeting and, so forth, any reports from?
I don't have any, but the, community development meets the first, Tuesday in the month. And of course, that meeting, it looks like it's gonna have to be after 4 o'clock in order for everybody to be there. Ashland, is that okay for you?
I can make it work.
Okay, but on the project that we're talking about now, with the, grant writer, I'd like for us to meet next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I know Steve's not gonna be there, but we can meet with 2 people present, and so that we can get started on that, since that's priority.
That's.
The 17th.
17th,
Mhm.
at 2,
At 2.
here.
And that's for a call meeting, so I guess
Yeah.
we need to put it out there to.
Yeah, basically, and a reminder to, all of the committee chairs, when we schedule this meeting, and like I say, Beverly did a, like a first of the year shout out to all the media and all that. But by KRS, even your committee meetings need to be sent to the media 24 hours before.
Are published on the website, right?
Yeah.
Cause I know mine was.
Yeah, and
published on the
I gotta get
website.
Lenita set up with that guy
Okay,
that
Yeah.
Jennifer had dealt with him.
yeah.
So just a reminder that we do, committee meetings do come under the KRS, publicized thing.
Isn't there another training coming up for new officials?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I think we have two
You know the
signed
date?
up, and you still have
The
time.
25th to the 27th.
25th through 27th?
That's the one in
Bowling
Bowling Green, right?
Yeah.
There's also one in Lexington the week before that, and there's still time if any other members would like to sign up to do that. It's a very jam-packed, informational 3 days.
The one in Bowling
tell you.
Green instead of,
Yeah, I'm doing Bowling Green as well.
Bowling Green.
But there is time to get with Bonita.
She got
on
me.
that. Okay. Any other from council?
From, you talking about from committees? I've
Yeah.
got something.
Okay,
It's not
yeah.
necessarily committee.
Okay, yeah.
So I've been combing through the, code of ordinances, and I've found a few things that I would like to, propose changes on. So today we're gonna start with these three ordinances that I would like everybody to look at. Pass those down, please. So the first one is use of exhaust or Jake brakes, and this has been talked about in city council before, several months ago. We have an ordinance that disallows it in the city limits, and, as we found out, state law actually precludes us from having that ordinance on any state highway. So in all intents and purposes, this ordinance isn't actually legal, and I propose that we add an exception to it, to add language that, says that, it is allowed on state highways. So that's the first one. The second one I found, which is a little bit alarming, concerns masks and other face covering devices. No person over the age of 12 years old shall appear in any place accessible to the public or to which the public is invited, nor on any public way or any public place within the city wearing a mask, hood, false face, or other device, which in any way covers or obscures any portion of the face between the eyes and chin. The city council may by order duly adopt, designate certain holidays or enumerated days on which persons may wear the devices prohibited in this section. I think that's to address like Halloween probably. I propose we repeal this in its entirety, especially the fact that a lot of people still, for health reasons, are wearing masks. Not to mention the fact that, yeah, you're breaking the law right
Yeah,
now.
I'm breaking the
Get
law.
her. Not to mention the fact that, in my opinion, there are certain religions where they require face coverings, and it's not our business to tell people that they can't do that anyway. So my proposal is to repeal that one in its entirety. And the third one, specific nuisance conditions designated. So 90.17, section B, paragraph 9. The purpose of this, I believe, is we don't want somebody to fill their front yard full of wrecked cars, create a junkyard in their front yard, right? That's the intention of this right here. The way that it's worded, though, it says automobiles and machinery. It is unlawful for the owner, occupier, or possessor of real property in the city to keep, maintain, or allowed to be kept or maintained thereon one or more wrecked, scrapped, or otherwise inoperable automobiles, trucks, boats, trailers, or any other type of machinery or implements, okay? The problem with the wording here is otherwise inoperable. That means, suppose I own one vehicle, suppose it's even a brand new vehicle, and it's in my driveway and it has a flat tire. I'm violating this ordinance, because that car is in that moment otherwise inoperable. To remedy this, I propose we change the words, and I've highlighted it there for you, where it says one or more, I propose we change that to more than one. If you're working on your own car in your driveway, that shouldn't be a crime. If you've got 5 or 6 broke down cars in your front yard, okay, I can start to see the problem. So that is my proposal.
I think part of that was repealed when we adopted the International Property Maintenance Code. But,
Well-
I mean, typically, Brandon, and this is more policy, I guess, than if I go by and see a vehicle, and then a week later, the same vehicle still sitting there, I'll usually either put a door tag on, mark it inoperable vehicle, or if they're working on it, say they've got the hood off or whatever, I say, cover it up with a tarp or whatever till you get it fixed, and give a reasonable amount of time, and if they just leave it, go back and address it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but also there's, people do restoration projects on cars that take years.
Well, that's the reason I like the property code, is because you can use some common sense, and it gives you the bite of the law, but that don't mean it's like a police officer stopping somebody for speeding. It's his discretion whether he writes them a ticket or whether he just warns them,
Mhm.
So I just kinda use a common sense approach and say, hey, you gotta get this up with a reasonable amount of time,
Well, that's what I have for that, Mayor.
Okay, is this something you're proposing, are you presenting it for the council to consider, or
Yes.
you wanting to actually move on it, or just?
I want, these are the proposals to change these specific ordinances, and I welcome input from everybody else to move forward.
Are we gonna have others?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I make a comment on one of the ordinances? Just kind of a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the second ordinance, the one about masks, could there be, rather than fully repealing it, consideration to say other than for medical or religious purposes? I would think it'd be beneficial to law enforcement to be able to enforce some sort of mask restrictions. I mean, you would want somebody in a ski mask walking into a bank.
Good point.
Brandon, what would you think about the health and safety committee sitting down and meeting and going over those?
Yeah, it's more of they are, anybody's welcome to do anything. For me personally, it's more of a constitutional issue. I don't see how any of us should be able to tell anyone else what they can put on their face for any reason.
So, I guess I kinda agree with the young lady in the back. I think we should specify, for Halloween, cause that's why it was put up there in the first place, for that particular celebration. But additionally, I do think that there should be a clause in there that says, that if there's a medical condition or religious or whatever, that you need to wear masks as well. Is what I think on that one.
Well, then, she mentioned a ski mask, and yeah, I don't recommend you going to a bank with a ski mask on. That's asking for all kinds of trouble. But there are other situations where you might want to wear a ski mask. I've been working out in the field in the dead of winter, and my whole face feels like it's gonna shatter.
Right, we had some,
So, I mean, you gotta be careful when you start doing carve-outs. You're not gonna think of all of them.
Yeah.
So maybe carve-ins.
Well, carve-in basics, weather,
Well, I mean, maybe
religious,
if we can think of a situation where we don't want someone wearing a mask, maybe we consider that instead of trying to preemptively think of every reason why someone might want to wear a mask.
Okay, then I'm with Robert, take it to health and safety, and you all sit down and carve out something.
Okay.
And get back to the council.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I got
health
one more
and safety.
comment.
Let
Well, it's in my head.
Let me finish, well, I'm saying, wait, let me finish on this particular,
I have.
Denny, I think you're the chairman of the Health and
No, that's Steve.
Steve
Steve,
Pettigo's
what-
chair.
You're the chairman of Health and Safety,
Yeah.
so
You,
you,
Denny, and
I
Brandon.
think it's you, Denny, and Brandon. So y'all get y'all's heads together and bring something back to us.
We got it.
Is that, agreeable?
Yes.
Since you, okay, Beverly, I'm sorry.
And, I like the more than one, change on the, automobiles on the bottom of specific nuisance conditions designated. Cause you're just changing it around more than one, you're not,
I had an
really
old
leaving
truck.
it out there really open.
Yeah, I had a early seventies pickup truck, and I worked on it every day. You know, I was working my regular job, and I would work on it an hour a day for years, you know? And I don't wanna be in I don't want a law like this to exist that, like, whether we enforce it or not, I don't wanna feel like if somebody had a grudge against me, they could use it against me. It shouldn't even be a violation.
Well, I have a neighbor straight across in front of me, got an old car, well, it's nothing but a pile of metal that he's found totally refurbishing. Maybe 5 years from now, he may accidentally, my son worked on a Mustang for 10 years, so.
Mhm. You know exactly what I'm saying.
Y'all get together on that and bring something back to us.
One of the things you could do is say outside a building. If it's enclosed in a building, it shouldn't make any difference.
Right.
Yeah, but, I mean, now you gotta have a garage.
Everybody don't have it. Everybody don't have a
I was
garage.
saying if it was inside a building, it wouldn't be a violation of the ordinance.
That's why a lot of
If
times
they
I
had
come
a
to the store
building.
all the time.
Right, but I was working on mine in my driveway, is
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Okay, any other council member got anything? Okay, real quickly here,
Oh,
just
that
a
is true. All the
few,
equipment don't run down there where I live. It's sitting out
just
there.
a few, comments. There will be a city hall meeting on Monday, January the 25th. I've been really encouraged at the meetings, been very busy.
That's not on a Monday. January 25th on a
I
Wednesday.
think you meant, did you mean February?
No, I
Oh.
said 23rd.
No, you said
No, you
25th.
said 25th.
Well, I had wrote down 23rd.
Okay.
23rd.
City Hall, okay. Where's it gonna be here?
Right here,
What time?
unless we have a big enough crowd, and that'll be fine too, we'll move it next door,
What time?
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
I've been really encouraged with our early this year meetings, the Chamber of Tourism, the positivity. I know, BODG, they're already working, I know, on cars and coffee, to my understanding. So there's a lot of great positive things that, already, this project, like I say, I'm not at liberty to say a whole lot about it. I will hopefully have information by the 23rd on another recreation project. Some of our existing projects, businesses are moving forward. So, I just want to bring us together, citizens, all the groups, Chamber, BRDG, Tourism, Kiwanis, school, Lions, and many other people who are working diligently to promote our community, to progress, to move forward in a positive manner. And, we will have, that meeting on Monday, the 23rd at 6 o'clock. All citizens, everybody's welcome. It will be a very positive, upbeat meeting, with thoughts, ideas. Hopefully some people volunteering to help do some things, and different activities throughout the year, so I do wanna push that. Next month's meeting, it'll be scheduled, the regular schedule will be on the 13th, will be the 2nd. Bobby, our attorney, is tied up and cannot be here that week, and his partners in his, they're also tied up that night, and I would, like to go ahead and move our February meeting to February the 20th.
I'm out of town, but you only have one person absent.
Is that just an okay, or do we need to vote?
Well, I just say, just get a motion
So, you know, and from time to time, we're gonna have things arise and so forth. I'll entertain a motion to move our February meeting to February the 20th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hi. I have part commitment. I'm out of town that week. So I'm not gonna vote for a meeting that I can't participate in.
Hey, Beverly, I totally understand and I really hate it. But the motion did pass, so our February meeting will be February the 20th.
Beverly, when he picked that day, I heard him say, I know Beverly ain't gonna be here.
No, he didn't.
Brandon, let me give you a little insight. I realize this is your first meeting, but Beverly and I don't need any encouragement. Believe me.
It doesn't take much. Is this the only one you had, Brandon?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second
A
that.
motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed?
That should be at that.
Motion passed.